I also had to do an emergency set snip here. We've had two huge Kendrick drops just on the last week. The Super Bowl announcement on last Sunday, where he infamously called out Drake for not having no round twos. That was hilarious. And then on 9/11, he surprise drops the 5 minute Watch the Party Die / Dear God. We don't really know exactly what this song is. We don't really know the importance of this song, but most Kendrick fans know it well enough that prior to new albums, he usually drops another song in the Heart series. Of course, Drake kind of took that away during the beef when he dropped a song called The Heart Part 6. So again, this was like an IG Live exclusive. It hasn't been made formally on streamings yet. People have been dissecting it, but I'm really interested to see and super excited to see what the next move is. Are we going to get an album this year with 3 months left in the year? Are we going to get something in January? Because that Super Bowl is early February. He's big enough to be able to do a surprise drop like Beyonce and just do crazy numbers. But I had to put this here. I'm super excited. You know you're going to get instant reactions from me as well as in-depth analysis on one of the biggest artists in the game right now. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the action. Enjoy the episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ty Tunes. And your boy had to pull out the big gold chain for this one because the man in the bucket hat and the big gold chains is back. LL Cool J has blessed us with a brand new album, his 14th studio album, almost exclusively produced by Q-Tip of the legendary Tribe Called Quest. This one dropped on September 6th, and we're going to get into it. It's called The Force, which stands for Frequency of Real Creative Energy. I think that title is pretty cool. It's hard to read in the album cover, but you got to look for it. It's well worth it, as is this album, again produced by Q-Tip and containing almost all legends and some new up-and-comers. I myself am not the biggest LL fan, but I do respect the game and the icon in hip-hop that he is, so I wanted to give it a fair shake, so let's get into it. Spirit of Cyrus, this one has an awesome The Warrior sample. Can you dig it? I'm with you, Cyrus. Featuring Snoop, but only on the hook. I will say that Snoop does a better job here in a minimal appearance than he did earlier on in the year with No Worries. I still can't really get that one out of my head. I do really like the beat. It's like a really riffy guitar that goes throughout the whole beat. The content is really interesting because he's talking about a black vigilante kind of taking down these racist forces. And when I looked into it, it was actually about a former LAPD officer that was fired for exposing the excessive brutality within the department. And unfortunately, he went on to go and kill a bunch of people. But it's also interesting because LL has been playing a cop on TV for like 20 years. But really strong way to start the album off, and then the end of the track blends nicely into the next one, The Force, our title track. With The Force, I do really like the song. The beat's kind of all over the place, and I can appreciate that. But what kills me is the hook. It's just basically Q-Tip saying, The Force, in like his little croaky voice. And don't get me wrong, I love Q-Tip, I love Tribe, but you know how a hook can just kill a song for you? This, unfortunately, is that case. Black Code Suite, this is a nice classic Q-Tip beat. You have an almost galloping drum tap in there, some nice claps, and a very basic bass line. LL is talking about his references and shouting out some classic jazz composers like back in the day, Miles Davis. He even shouts out Stevie Wonder. He's talking about his upbringing and how he remembers Mama being in the kitchen cooking and playing to that music. And then Sona Jabarte comes in as the beat switches to a more Western tinge, but she kills it for the rest of the song. And you got to remember your black code. Proclivities. I'm going to say it. I think this might be my favorite track on the whole album, which is crazy because it kind of just boils down to LL and Sweetie sharing sex bars, which he's kind of known for. He was known for doing it well. So he's right in his bag here. But they just trade those sexual innuendos. You don't need Wi-Fi when you're close to this hot spot, and how he's going to be doing things with her in the car and other people can see, like in a crowded room and things like that. The beat is so phenomenal though. I love the scaling synths as they build up and then they drop back down, and then you've got a nice smooth bass line that just gets your head nodding. This is I think this is my favorite track. Later on, we get Postmodern. Now, this beat is all over the place. Q is playing with the sample and interspersing his verse with the sample just chopped up. And he's comparing his rap skills and his cars and his lifestyle with that of lesser known people. I do like the themes of making your art become your success, and how the first verse is really about LL's upbringing and his strive to become a rap legend. And it ends pretty much with his mom investing or paying it forward on her son. And he comes in on the second verse, still with the mom motif and how she's now using that money that she invested to buy some foreign cars. This is a really cool song and something that you can use definitely to pump yourself up and motivate you to do what you want to do. 30 Decembers, this one's about revisiting New York City during the pandemic. It's a pretty mellow beat, which I think allows everybody, the listener, to really get involved with what LL's saying here. It's a good story. He's talking about the different interactions he has with people on the train, from people being afraid of who he is and what he looks like because he's black, to people being oblivious to who he is. Everybody's wearing masks at this point. Everybody's just checking their phones or their computers, but he just kind of takes us into that world or that view of a few years ago when we were all just so paranoid about absolutely everything. Basquiat Energy. This is another fantastic tune. I love the bass here. It's in your face. It's super funky. It's kind of the main thing that you hear as you go along to this song, just nodding your head. Q-Tip laced him for sure on this one. This is another triumphant tale about his upbringing and how he strived for success. We started from the bottom. We on Mount Olympus now, baby. Pretty interesting story about how he sent a demo to Rick Rubin, and then he really blew up in the rap game, and then he's at a party with Big Daddy Kane, kind of shouting out some other legends there. This is another fantastic song. It's very energetic. It'll get you moving. Praise Him featuring Nas. I really like the open drums here. They sound very echoey or bassy, almost bongo-like. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually are bongos. This one's cool. He's shouting out a higher power and just thanking God really for his success and his willingness to grow and where he is now based upon where he was when he was growing up. And then Nas comes in with that nasty flow. Not like sick or what he's saying, but it's from the song Nasty, where he's just really hyper and bending his words and blending it to a really nice rhyme scheme. And he too is talking about how he strived for success. He kind of name dropped some modern tools like some fancy alcohol and being on a Zoom meeting, which I thought was pretty funny. And then he tells a story about how he took a train to go see the man they called LL because he heard he raised some hood toddlers. Another jam. You know I always love Nas. This is a great track. Murdergram 2. This one leaked about a month or so before the album actually came out. This is featuring Eminem, of course. And I also heard that M wrote LL's verse here, which he spits to absolute perfection. Of course, you know what you're going to get with Eminem these days. He's going to bend the words to his will, and he does have some pretty classic bars talking about one girl who's so messed up that they call her Katrina because someone needs to get her a cane. You know, pretty low effort for him, but I did enjoy the song as a whole. The beat is very like, and you're gonna ride along with it, and they both say some pretty slick stuff. So this is a keeper. And then on the last track, The Vow, we get a sweet posse cut, which are all but extinct these days. LL's talking about a really legendary birth, his own, of course, but fictionalized to talk about when he was born. He had goat horns already, so the doctor and his mama knew that he was destined for greatness. He had a gold mic around his neck, or he had a gold chain around his neck, and a mic appeared in his hand. And when he was a toddler, he walked with Panthers. Just all the shout outs to past albums, which I thought was pretty cool. And then kind of in the second half of the song, if you will, because it's fairly long, he does cede the limelight to the rest of his crew, who all have some pretty good bars and lines about being up next. Overall, this is another solid track and a nice cherry on top to the end of the album. I do really like the beat on this one too. It's another high energy one where you're keeping up with what he's saying, and what he's saying is pretty cool story, even if it's fictionalized, obviously. But it just kind of lends or shows you his pen game has strong as ever, really, even on his 14th album. So I was not checking for this one really at all, but because it's been a few weeks now where we've had a pretty big hip hop release, and I've gone to these other genres. I wanted to get back and jump in here, so I was excited, and I would say it's enough replayability to give it a solid 7 out of 10. I do recommend this one. I recommend his old discography as well to kind of get up to speed with him as a rapper and as a hip hop icon. All the guest verses are really solid. The production is near phenomenal because it's Q-Tip, and you know when he's behind the board, you're going to get those off the wall beats, those high energy beats, a lot of chopped up samples, which he all uses to great effect here on this album. But what did you guys think? How long have you been an LL fan? How long have you been a TyTunes fan? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this episode and what future music should be done, and I'll catch you on the next TyTunes.